Well, it is another fantastic day here at Fun King Garage, and in this episode, I'm going to be fabricating. I love fabricating. I'm going to be fabricating a custom grill bracket. All right, full disclosure, I don't know that that's actually the official name of this piece. I just know that it goes between that lower apron and the radiator core support, and it holds the grill. I needed one with a little bit more room back behind it, and you get a little sneak peek. There it is. Now, for those of you who have been wondering where I've been and why there's been such an absence here on YouTube, I'm going to cover it at the end of this video. So enjoy this episode. So in the process of doing all of the wiring of the car, I decided to go ahead and change out the generic brand 10-inch cooling fan that was on the condenser and go to a 12-inch flex light. And in that process, I realized that the 12-inch flex light was thicker and is hitting this bracket. Now this bracket holds the center of the grill as well as the center of the radiator core support and the post for the hood latch. So it's kind of a critical piece. Last year I did clearance it when I moved the radiator forward, and I did a nice job and custom fit it and reinforced it, and I'm kind of sorry I did it because I just found out that those things sell used on eBay for like $200. Yeah, but that brings us to this little side project in the process of doing the electrical. I am going to pull this out. I'm going to make a wooden jig that lines up to this, and then I am going to recreate one from scratch that gives me the most amount of space and still has the same amount of durability and security, maybe even with a few add-ons. When a manufacturer makes a piece like this, it is all about making it in the most efficient way. And this obviously was stamped out of a flat piece of steel that's fairly thin. I wouldn't even know how to start to guess what gauge that is. I can put the metal gauge on it and find out for sure, but you can tell that they just stuck in the stamper and so when the cowl goes on here, the core support cowl, it bolts through here, and there's a second bolt that goes through here for the plate that does the hood latch, but this only goes one way, so I'm going to actually make mine tee off. I'm going to lose all of this depth and go just to the front with some gussets and definitely a thicker material. So that's what I'm going to show you next. Alright, so if I had one of those fancy welding layout tables with the bazillion holes and all kinds of jigs and clamps, and yeah, maybe someday I'll have one, but I don't have one, and if I had one I would use that and lay this out that way. I do have a little twist to this thing, which now I don't have a twist to this thing anymore. So my plan is to go ahead and I'm going to screw this 2x4 to the piece of plywood, and then I will take like this piece of 2x4 and I will screw it here to this plywood. I'm wondering if I should take these clip nuts off of here so that it fits a little tighter, because my new one won't have that. It'll be okay. And then I'll use another block up here. And all the while, I'm also going to trace around the current bracket just with a pencil so that I know where it was laying and I know where it goes. And that will allow me to then recreate the bottom piece of this, the back piece of this, and the top piece of this, and know that it's going to line up where it's supposed to. Now I'm not going to actually create a piece, create a piece, create a piece. This will be probably separate because I want to enhance it, but the backbone of this is going to be pretty much the same thing out of flat stock and I will just bend it to meet this bottom. That's my plan anyway, and as I have recently taught you, things don't always go according to plan. So let me get this down on here, get these boards screwed down, and then I will bring you back to show you this masterpiece. So here's what I ended up with. Got the original piece. I got this guy down here, this guy up here, and I got this piece here on the back. I marked the holes down here to this board. I marked the holes up here to this board. Now I just have to make sure that it's sitting where it's supposed to be sitting and figure out how I'm going to mark these holes through here, because they're actually back behind here. Gonna have to come up with something for that. This is when woodworking works out well in the auto shop. Now, if I was going to mass produce these, or if I needed it to be a lot more precision than this, I would have done it out of metal. But in this case, this is going to be just fine. Except I've got a little twist in it. And I say that because the bottom holes are off a little bit this way and the top holes are off this way. Plus I outlined it, which means I put this board on just a little crooked. So I'm going to take off that screw. I'll put it back into the jig. And then the twist in this original piece doesn't help at all either. That looks pretty good. So now I will put this screw back in, but I'll do it from this side. I may have to measure those out. That little twist is going to cause me a great amount of grief. It is exactly where I want it to be. So my bottom holes are lined up. If I flatten it down, my top holes are lined up. I may have to just mark these clip nuts, find their centers, and measure. This one I might be able to get to. That one's going to be a challenge. So the next point, or the next step, is to figure out what material I want to use, and I'm going to make the piece that goes from here up this back, and it'll end here, and then I'll make the top separately. Now this one does have this little hoop in it that I don't know why, but if mine requires it, I'll figure it out after the fact. But in the meantime, I just got to get this set up. Darn kids and their beatbox musics. Just waiting for that noise to be done. Sounds like whatever it is running like crap and they need to fix it. Alright, so I'm not looking to replicate this exactly. That would be dumb. I would just use this one. But what I've done is I I had to buy 72 inches of this stuff. I ran to the local metal supplier, also known as my local tractor store. And so all I did was I laid this on there and I just kind of rolled it like this and I said, yep, about that much. So I'm not dealing with a stick this big. I'll end up with a little bit of waste on the end, but that's all right. So now what I want to do is, using this lovely table that I built, I just kind of want to get a sense for if I held this to the end here, because I'd like to do something fancier with the end so it doesn't just end. And then what I'm going to do is take my tungsten scribe. I'm going to scribe where that ends. And I'm going to scribe where these holes go. Because the first thing that I want to do is to make a nice gradual bend in this, which I do not have a press brake as of yet. So I will probably use the vise and the torch. And then I'm going to match this angle. And the reason I want to match the angle is because this does not bolt flat to the car like this. It bolts to the car like this. But this doesn't come straight up and down like this. It comes up and down like this. There's just all of these different things that play in. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is try and match this bend radius or bend angle. And then I can determine for sure where I need to punch those two bottom holes, and then I can start working my way up this arm and out. And again, I don't know what this little whoop is in here. We will figure that out in the long run. But just so you know what I'm going for is this part is going to be the piece that bolts down into the car, and it's going to roll up. So it's going to be like this. And I also picked up a piece of 1/2 inch wide material so that I can make ribs so that there's 0 flex in this. This is 3/16 inch. Oh, I say that, maybe I ended up going with the 1/8 inch. Yep, 1/8 inch. So there is just a little tiny bit of flex in it, and I want to make sure that that flex is gone. So by putting a rib down this, it'll strengthen it up. So that bend is really my first big step. So I'm going to get that done. All right, so I'm using my fancy handy dandy electric angle finder, digital angle finder, and I'm coming up with 105 degrees. So I'm going to bend this to the same angle at 105 degrees. I did get to thinking about it. I left this a little long. I'm not going to try to bend it right on the line, even though I left this a little long. Yeah, I guess that'll be okay. I'll bend it on the line because that'll leave more tail here and less tail up here. But again, I want to do something back here to make that a little fancier. So I will get that bent at 105. I probably won't film that. Maybe I will. I don't know. I guess you'll find out. So because the vise is not necessarily level to ground. So by zeroing it out on here, and then coming to here, I know that I need to be at 74.2. Now that doesn't line up with anything that we measured because again, the vise is not level to the earth. So 74.2, and as a cautionary, I'm going to put that right there. That will clean off a brake cleaner. I am then locking this into the vise. This garage is such a mess. Tomorrow morning is Saturday. That's my cleaning day. taking my square and ensuring that the material is square to the vice jaws. And we're going to make it good and tight. And then I have this lovely guy. I've had this since high school. Oh, fire! And now boogers. It's a little temperamental, so. There we go. Let's make sure that there's a lot of flammable stuff piled up right around where we're doing this. This is not the first time that this vise and this torch have played together. We're going to get it good and hot because we want to have a nice smooth bend. Of course, we don't want to get it so hot we cut it. I'm going to go ahead and stick that on there. We're looking for our 74.2. And if I have to make fine adjustments to it after the fact, I can do that. It's heating the vise too, so let's give it just a little more heat. Oh, that's better. One of these days I'll have a press brake and then 2 seconds this would be done. Wow, that is just not, that is not taking the heat. It will now. Now she's got some orange to her. Just a little more beans. Too much beans. Alright, that's 74 even. I'll take that. $74.4 right there. So I will take that. It's not really that precision. So now we're going to let that cool. The downside to heating it is you don't always get the same. In fact, I can see there's a little bit of an off radius. I'll check square on that and tweak it if I have to. Never leave pressure in my hoses, even if I know I'm going to use them again soon. That's my camera battery. 9%. I'm about to lose you guys. Oh, that's good. That's real good. It's got to go just a hair that way. Oop, that was too much of a hair. I know that's not something I typically say. That's good. That's real good right there. So we're going to wait for that to cool. And we'll move on to the next step. Pretty good. Pretty good. It's still hot. I can feel it down here in my digits. If you look closely, you can see that like this radius is a little looser than this radius, but it is square. At least I think it is. I will double check all of that, but yeah, as soon as it's cool, we'll get it back onto the assembly table. Got my piece. I ended up, I let it cool for a while, and then I ran it under the drinking fountain, which is, it's chilled, so it's now nice and cold. And I have compared it to the original, and it matches really, really well. In fact, I would say it's pretty dead on. The only issue that I have, if I lay it on the table like this and I check this square, it's off by just a hair, and that could even be my table. So I am willing to deal with what I have. It is not that precision of a piece. So that brings me now to the next point, which is this guy right here. I need to now meet this bend and bring it, whatever this angle is, back out. That I might be able to just do by hand, but again, when you pull by hand, it doesn't necessarily bend on the line. So, but let me get all that figured out and get that bend in there, and then we'll see where we are. All right, so here's what I ended up doing. That is my drill press vise. First thing I did was I made sure that this was square to the press, which again isn't 100% accurate because this table can slide just a little bit. But then I made sure that this was square to the vise, and then using this piece of DOM tubing that was left over from the 4-link, I centered this, and just using my finger, I was able to put a bend in this. I bent it a little too far, so I put it in the vise and I just kind of bent it back. But when I lay my angle finder on there, it is, I mean, a smidge off. And again, even the original one isn't that precision. That's gonna work great. I absolutely love fabricating, and I would do a lot more of it, and I will once the garage is set up properly. I know, boo-hoo. I know I have more space than a lot of people do. I appreciate what I have. What I do really have is a junk collecting problem, and I need to get that under control, and that will open up a lot more space. I say all that because I really like fabricating. So now what I want to do is I want to mark this where the head piece is going to go, but I then have to deduct the 1/8 inch material off of that because the top plate is going to sit on top of this. I think I might go ahead and cut it and then just creep up on it ever so slowly using the bench grinder, also known as a bench sander. So I'll go ahead and get that cut off, and then we'll see if it fits in the jig. Alright, so I got my piece cut off on the end, and just as expected, I don't know if you can see, there is a gap, pretty good one, in between here. That was kind of by design so that I can just file the end of that a little bit on the bench grinder, on the belt grinder. So I ordered up these 36 grit belts. I ordered them from Benchmark Abrasive, which is a company I've bought from for many years, and I just took this 120 off of there. It was the last one I had, and I mean it's pretty worn out, but I can't wait to see how fast 36 grit eats this. like an eighth of an inch. I took a face full of rock off of that, but holy crap, does that move some material. Hey, so I just wanted to take a moment to tell you how cool it is that the fine folks over at Benchmark Abrasives sent me this cool t-shirt and that banner for my wall. Wait, give me a second. All right, let's try that again. The awesome folks over at Benchmark Abrasives sent me this cool t-shirt and that even more amazing banner for up on my wall. And when they said, I want to send you a t-shirt and a banner because you don't have one, I said, I have a perfect place for the banner because that is right over my cutting and grinding table. Though I do think now I have to finish that wall, mud up all the seams, but tell me that's not awesome. Check out Benchmark Abrasives at benchmarkabrasives.com. By taking that eighth of an inch off, I'm now in the jig, I'm flush here, and I'm just touching here, which is exactly what I wanted. I also can verify that it's on the line that I drew based off of the original one. And again, I mean, look how thin that is. It does a fine job. It's lasted 70 years. I need the space back behind it. So now I need to take one more eighth of an inch, like exactly 1/8 of an inch off of there, so that a plate will fit this way, which is the piece that the hood latch bolts to. But I think so far it's coming along swimmingly. Hey, did I tell you I love fabricating stuff? So I've turned my jig around so that you can see better. I can't see better, but it's all about you. So what I did was I took this piece, which was the piece that I cut off from here originally, and I laid this in the jig. I laid this to here, and I marked it on both sides. Took it over to that wonderful 36 grit disc from Benchmark Abrasives and chewed the other eighth of an inch off. Now, if I take my super clamp here, I need some of these super clamps in a smaller size. If you don't know what I mean by super clamp, the ones that have the I-beam, oof, man, do they grab. All right, so now I am up against there, I am up against here, relatively. There's a little bit of slop in there. And the magic question is, yes, it does. That top plate is going to fit in there brilliantly. So now, again, that top plate doesn't run this way, it runs this way. So I'm either gonna have to cut a groove in the plywood and feed it through, which would be fine, or come up with a different jig. But I'm going to make that piece separately from this, which is why I didn't just bend that over, because I want this to tee off on the top. I want the hood to bolt on, or the latch to bolt on properly in two places. Unfortunately, the dinner bell has rang for me. I guess that's not unfortunate, fortunately. And I'm gonna go eat. But it is already into the evening on Friday, and I think I'm gonna call it a day and resume tomorrow, but you don't really care, because to you, it's gonna be like this. And good morning, it's another day here in Fun King Garage, and I am going to move on to completing this. The first step, of course, is going to be to fabricate this piece right here. We still gotta figure out how to drill the holes and where to drill the holes, but I want to fabricate that top piece next. I'm at the point now where I have the main spine built. The holes are drilled in the bottom to go into the car. I was having a hard time figuring out how to transfer the holes here into the spine, so I went ahead and used the same trick that I used on the dash, and I sharpened some bolts to points, and I used those to mark the wood, and then I realized that sucked, so I used it to mark this cardboard, which gave me something to measure off of, but that sucked too. So then what I did was I bolted the new spine into the car and got the grill positioned where I wanted it, reached through with a Sharpie, marked it, punched it. I have a bird in my garage. It does not realize I also have a cat in my garage. But anyway, so I reached through with a Sharpie and I made a mark, punched it, drilled them out. So now I have the 2 holes here, which are ready for riv nuts, which I will put in before I powder coat it. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tack on this plate to the backing. The backing plate's got a little roll to it, so I'll straighten it up and put a second tack on it. That will allow me to put it in the car, set the core support across it, and mark through the core support where these holes are so that I know everything lines up and there's no surprises. Perfect. Alright, I'm already set up for 1/8 inch. The gas is already on. I have a ground. I'm not really telling you that, I'm telling me that. Sometimes I forget. Cover. That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. You can smell that toasty wood. Yeah, that's gonna work fine. Careful, there's a leg there. Cover. Cover. That should now give me enough tack. All I gotta do is get that out of the wood. There it is. So the only thing that I'm still not 100% on is what that little curve was in the original. This little bump here, and I don't know if it has something to do with the hood, but if it is an issue, I don't know, I'll figure it out. This should be fine. So now I'm going to get it bolted back into the car and put the cowl in place, the core support, and that will allow me to mark that top, and then I can get that top drilled, make sure that it's all the right angle and stuff, get it fully welded on. It should be the right angle because it matches this one, and again I did hack this one up, but not on the front side. So if we compare them, yeah, we're there. This I did check, it is 16 gauge, and I mean you can tell that it's just, but I also did some looking at it, and I misspoke earlier and said that this actually supported that core support cover, and it doesn't. That thing is plenty rigid on its own. This is purely to tie the bottom of the car to the top of the car to hold the grill. It really serves no other purpose. So this one that's built like a tank should be just fine. Yeah. That's where that needs to be. You know, fit and finish on old cars is not great. Yeah, I may have to make some final adjustments to this once the hood is back on, so I think that powder coating is going to wait until the very end. After the hood is back on, which means the motor is back in. Alright, so now I'll go ahead and get this all, I guess, finish welded and then drill the holes. I don't want to break those tack welds off and risk not getting it lined back up in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and finish welding it and then fight that as far as drilling goes. Should be fine. Should be fine. I'll cry about it later, but it'll be fine. Well, that turned out really good. I mean, it's like 3,000,000% stronger than what was in there. I don't even think I'm going to put the ribbing on the back. I mean, there's no flex to this. That's great. All right, I'm figuring out how to punch some holes in this thing without having to use a torch. I should order a plasma cutter. I really should have a plasma cutter. Anybody watching my stuff, do you have personal experience with that arc droid that I've seen? Arc droid? No, arc captain. Arc droid is that really cool, like small CNC that I would love to have, but it's out of the budget. No, the arc captain plasma cutter. It's super affordable, and it supposedly does a really great job, but you know how them YouTubers are, sometimes they lie. Well, I've completed drilling the holes. And listen, this hole is longer than this hole. And I thought I messed up. And then I compared it back to the core support cover, and nope, that's how they are. I do want to file the edges of this a little bit more, but I got to get a different file. But in the meantime, I want to double check to make sure this is going to work. Oh, it looks fantastic. It's pretty close. Yeah, I say that. No, it's fine. I was going to say I want to file a little bit more off of there, but no, it's fine. It's a 1/4 inch bolt that goes through that, and it's a 5/16 inch wide gap. But I'm super pleased with that. That gives me way more room back behind there, and I guess that's really a thing that we should test. This is the new 12-inch Flexolite fan. Stay. Yeah, there's not going to be any problem. There's not going to be any problem at all. I can mount that out further than where the radiator can go. So, success. And again, all of this took place because I need to mock up the electrical for the fans, and to mock up that electrical, ideally I needed the fans in place, and I couldn't get the fans in place because that bracket was in the way. I'm fully pleased with that. I'm going to take some time. I'm going to clean the rest of the mill scale off of this. I want to round out these corners so that it looks finished. It's a little bit customized, and then like I said, I don't think I'm going to powder coat it just yet. Once the hood has been put back on and I know that everything clears, then I will go ahead and powder coat it so it's one and done. Yeah, I left this excessively long. I want to round this off. I'm thinking about actually just rounding it off, and I want to round the corners on this, and then it'll be complete. So, job well done. Well, there it is, fully installed. I haven't really done anything to it finish-wise other than remove 99.9% of the mill scale. Why 99.9? Because I see I missed a spot right here. I actually figured out that it does a really nice finish running it through the blast cabinet. So I'm going to go ahead and blast this whole thing. I'm using 100 grit aluminum oxide, and I think that that's a good tooth for grabbing the powder coating. So I threw it in there because I couldn't get the mill scale off the back side of this, and I used it, and all of a sudden I'm like, that's perfect. That's perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and put the the core support cover back on this. See how it lines up, because right now we are bolted to the grill and we are bolted to the car, so it's pretty much sitting where it's going to sit in real life. Absolutely perfect. I can't argue with that at all. My holes are lined up perfectly for the striker plate that I have no idea what I've done with at this point, but that was an absolute success. it took me all day. I mean, between cleaning and making and grinding and finishing and filming. But overall, I think it looks great the way it is. I wish I could just leave it plain, but it'll be a rusty mess in no time here in Florida. But for now, that is the end of the fun fabrication stuff. Makes me a little sad, but I got a couple other things that I got to do. I got to finish up the wiring now, and hopefully I will be hearing on the motor very, very soon. And then we can proceed to be ready for power tour. Well, there she is, powder coated, installed, and completed power tour, Hot Rod Power Tour 2025 without any issues. Held the hood down, held the grill on, and the only thing that I could have asked for is more performance out of it. But that's not what that piece is for. So I'll still chalk that one up as a successful modification. Now, for those of you who have been wondering where I have been, well, I guess to those who didn't even notice, thanks a lot. But for those of you who did notice and have been wondering, and the few of you who have reached out and asked, unfortunately, I've developed a medical issue. And it is diabetic related, and what it is I have a bleed in my left eye. And it has caused my vision to be like looking through thick black cobwebs, and or maybe like through old-timey window screen from a distance. It's hard to describe. Everybody gets floaters in their eyes. The floaters that are in my eyes are excessive in number and dark black. Very difficult to see through. Some days are better than others. It just depends. So this has caused an issue with not being able to, I can't see detail. My left eye was my good eye, my right eye was okay at best, and now they're both kind of not my good eye. So seeing small detail has been very difficult. I see things that aren't there. When I look with my eyes, the lines move, so things look like it's falling, and then I look to catch whatever's falling. It's a lot of fun. Now, if you're squeamish, you might not want to listen to this part, but I have been to the doctor. They have taken pictures inside my eyes. I am getting injections into my eyes, both of them, because the problem is in the right eye as well. It just hasn't bled into my eye, thank God. I have a few more weeks of that, and then they're talking about going in and doing laser surgery to cauterize it so that it no longer bleeds. All right, so now you can take your fingers out of your ears if you weren't listening to the gross parts. It sucks. Things could be worse. I mean, I'm healthy otherwise. I kind of need my vision for almost everything I do. It's also the reason that I haven't done a lot of editing. It's very hard to sit at the computer and see small lines and details. I don't know if you've ever edited, but there's a lot of little cuts and things that you make. So it's hard to do. And I stare at a computer screen for my job. So I'm making provisions. I'm going to the best of my ability, work through and try to get everything that I have shot from pre-Hot Rod Power Tour 25 edited out and released, because there's a lot of good content. I mean, look at that. Just fantastic engine in there. So, but if you are of the praying type, I would appreciate prayers coming my way. It will only be with God's grace that this clears up. Even if they cauterize it, the lines in my eyes could be permanent. It could be months. It could be just weeks, and it'll go away. So keep me in your thoughts and prayers. I'd appreciate that. Enough with sad story. That takes us to the next part. I know, sad story, fun stuff. No, thank you. Not the regular thank you. Not the thanks for watching this episode, and the thanks for tuning in, and thanks for subscribing. I mean, all of those. But this thank you is special because I was able to make YouTube partner. And if you don't know what that means, it means there was enough of you who subscribed, 1,000. We're like 13, almost 1,400 now. And you've watched enough of my stuff, 4,000 hours in a year, to push me into YouTube partner, and that means that I get a small percentage of any ad revenue generated from my channel. So if you watch an ad at the beginning of the video, even up to the skip point, I do get a little cut of that. And it's not going to be life-changing. I'm not quitting my job. I'm not going to be Mr. Beast out buying up grocery stores and giving out free food. But every little bit of income helps, as well as its drive to keep going. Every time you hit a major milestone, you want to keep going. And I mean, my major milestones, every time I hit another 100 people, you know, subscribing, even though like 75% of you don't subscribe, but you watch my stuff, it's just one little second. You just click that button and the thumbs up. You know, you could do it like right now while I'm just you're already done. See, like it's so quick. But no, seriously, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. It is absolutely. I can't tell you enough. Thank you. It means the world to me. So it's because of you guys that I get to keep doing this. Well, it's because of you guys I do this. I wouldn't do this for myself. It takes twice as long to do everything. So thank you. Thank you guys not only for watching and subscribing and all that, but thanks for getting me to that YouTube partnership. Someday I hope to have that silver play button. We'll see. And hope you enjoyed this video. I will, to the best of my ability, get more out for you. And that leaves me with, until next time, thanks for watching.